Real Madrid call it the future of football. Critics call it financial suicide. The Santiago Bernabéu, a stadium that has defined football glory for more than 70 years, is undergoing a $2.5 billion transformation. But here's the shocking twist. This glittering upgrade could cripple the club's finances for decades. Will the Bernabéu become the crown jewel of Europe, or the biggest money pit in football history? The Santiago Bernabéu isn't just a stadium, it's the beating heart of Real Madrid, the most decorated club in football history.
Real Madrid, I mean, geez, it's the pinnacle.
Is it?
I think so. I think if you say to any footballer in the world, one club, everyone generally regards Real Madrid as the biggest club in the world.
Do you think it's the biggest club in the world?
I think so.
Built in 1947, this arena has been the backdrop to European glory nights, impossible comebacks, and some of the greatest players ever to grace the sport. But by the late 2010s, something became painfully clear. While the team dominated Europe, their fortress was falling behind. Clubs across the continent were building futuristic arenas designed not just for football, but for concerts, entertainment, shopping, and year-round revenue. Tottenham Hotspur had unveiled their billion-dollar London Super Stadium. Bayern Munich's Allianz Arena and Juventus's Allianz Stadium offered modern facilities that left the Bernabéu looking old-fashioned by comparison. Even Barcelona, Real's eternal rivals, had ambitious plans for their own massive redevelopment. For Real Madrid, standing still wasn't an option. Florentino Pérez, the club's president and mastermind of the Galacticos era, saw the writing on the wall. To keep Real Madrid at the pinnacle of world football, the Bernabéu itself needed to become a Galactico, an icon of the future. In 2019, construction began on what would be the most ambitious stadium project in football history. At first, the budget hovered around €525 million. But then came the add-ons. A futuristic retractable roof that would turn the Bernabéu into a year-round entertainment palace. A 360-degree video screen circling the stands. A massive underground system to slide the entire pitch out of sight, preserving the grass while allowing the stadium to host NBA games, tennis tournaments, esports, and concerts for 80,000 people. Add luxury restaurants, sky lounges, and a shopping complex designed to turn match day into a 365-day tourist destination.
Este gran proyecto se convertirá en una pieza clave para el Real Madrid del futuro, pero también lo será para la ciudad de Madrid. Y lo será porque el nuevo estadio Bernabéu, situado en el corazón de Madrid, será el mejor estadio del mundo.
Soon, the price tag soared past $1 billion, then $1.5 billion, and now, according to the latest figures, approaches $2.5 billion, making it the most expensive stadium upgrade the football world has ever seen. But here's where the dream becomes dangerous. Unlike some state-backed clubs, Real Madrid is owned by its members. The club doesn't have a billionaire owner to bail it out if things go wrong. To fund the project, they've taken on massive loans, reportedly €575 million from JP Morgan and Bank of America, with repayments stretching decades into the future. That's why critics are sounding alarms. For all its brilliance, this futuristic Bernabéu comes with a terrifying risk. If revenues don't explode as projected, if tourism declines, or if global recessions bite, Real Madrid could face a financial black hole. The stadium meant to secure the club's future might just strangle it instead. Supporters, however, see something else. They see Pérez's masterstroke. A stadium that won't just host football, but become Madrid's premier global attraction, pulling in tourists, corporations, and sponsors from every corner of the planet. They imagine Champions League nights where the roof closes, the lights dim, and the stadium itself becomes part of the spectacle. They dream of concerts with global superstars filling the same ground where Karim Benzema and Jude Bellingham scored goals. But with the final cost already out of control, the The question is no longer what the Bernabéu will look like when finished. The question is whether Real Madrid will still be standing tall or drowning in debt by the time the future arrives. This isn't just construction. This is a gamble with the club's very identity, its legacy, and its financial survival. And like all high-stakes gambles, the outcome could be glorious or catastrophic. Step inside the new Santiago Bernabéu, and you're no longer just in a football stadium, you're in a spaceship built for the future of sport and entertainment. At the heart of this $2.5 billion transformation is a piece of engineering that defies belief, a retractable roof that can seal off the entire stadium in just 15 minutes. Imagine a Champions League night where the sky closes above, the lights dim, and the atmosphere transforms into an indoor arena built for pure spectacle. Rain or shine, Madrid will never again be at the mercy of the weather. But the roof is just the beginning. Running like a digital crown around the stands will be a 360-degree panoramic video screen, unlike anything in European football. Not a scoreboard, not a jumbotron. A full circular ribbon of high-definition LED, wrapping every fan into the action with replays, stats, and cinematic light shows that make the Bernabéu feel more like Las Vegas than La Liga. Then comes the most jaw-dropping feature of them all, the disappearing pitch. Beneath the surface lies a hidden engineering marvel, a giant underground cavern where the entire grass field can slide away piece by piece, stored safely under LED grow lights, humidity controls, and oxygen circulation. This means Real Madrid can host anything, from an NBA basketball showcase to NFL games, to esports championships, to megastar concerts, all without destroying the sacred grass where European cups are won. And that's the secret weapon. Florentino Pérez doesn't want a stadium that's used 25 times a year. He wants a stadium that's full 365 days a year. By day, it will be a tourist attraction with restaurants, a Real Madrid museum, and luxury shopping. By night, it transforms into a world-class arena for global entertainment. Every seat redesigned for comfort. Every box built for corporate power. Every corner engineered for maximum revenue. The numbers are staggering. With the new setup, Real Madrid expects to add over $150 million annually in extra revenue streams. That's not just matchday tickets, it's concerts, conferences, global sponsorships, and broadcast rights for events that have nothing to do with football. Even the exterior is part of the plan. The new Bernabéu's façade will shimmer with futuristic steel and glass panels, turning the stadium into a glowing landmark in the heart of Madrid. At night, the entire structure can light up in Madrid's colours, transforming into a giant monument of pride and power that dominates the skyline. Critics may scoff at the extravagance, but for fans walking into this sci-fi cathedral, the experience will be unlike anything else in football. Picture it, the roof sliding shut, the lights pulsing to the beat of Real Madrid's anthem, the panoramic screens wrapping the stadium in white light as 80,000 fans roar in unison. It's not just a game anymore, it's an event. And that's the brilliance and the danger of Pérez's vision. The Bernabéu is no longer just a football stadium, it's a money machine disguised as a theatre of dreams. But the bigger the promise, the bigger the fall if it doesn't work. Because while fans are dazzled by the lights, accountants are staring at the bill, and behind the glitter, there's one brutal truth. All of these features only matter if they pay for themselves. For all its flashing lights and futuristic glory, the new Santiago Bernabéu hides a secret that could decide the future of Real Madrid. And it's not in the design, it's in the debt. Unlike Manchester City or Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid doesn't have a billionaire owner with bottomless oil money. The club belongs to its members, the socios, and every euro spent on this $2.5 billion mega project is borrowed money. To fund it, Real Madrid struck deals with financial giants like JP Morgan and Bank of America, securing loans worth hundreds of millions, with repayment schedules that stretch decades into the future. At first, the math seemed simple. Build the most advanced stadium in the world, rake in extra revenues from concerts, sponsorships, and year-round events, and use that income to pay off the loans. But that neat calculation is already starting to unravel, because the cost didn't stop at $1 billion. They didn't even stop at $2 billion. As features were added, like the disappearing pitch, the panoramic video screens, the retractable roof, the budget ballooned to $2.5 billion. And here's the nightmare scenario. What happens if the revenues don't match the hype? Real Madrid is gambling that the Bernabéu will bring in at least $150 million extra every year. That's how the project justifies itself. But what if tourism dips? What if another global crisis shuts down stadiums again, like during the pandemic? What if concerts and corporate events don't fill the gaps between football matches? Suddenly, the Bernabéu doesn't look like a futuristic money machine. It looks like a concrete trap. Even more chilling, history is full of examples. Juventus built their new stadium in Turin, and while it modernized the matchday experience, it never generated the promised windfall. Arsenal's Emirates Stadium brought in revenue, but also saddled the club with financial shackles that limited their ability to compete in the transfer market for nearly a decade. And those projects cost a fraction of Madrid's current gamble. If the Bernabéu fails, Real Madrid faces a nightmare double blow. On the field, rivals like Manchester City can still buy stars with endless funds. Off the field, Madrid would be tied to decades of crushing debt. Imagine missing out on the next Galactico because the stadium bill is due. Imagine watching Barcelona, or worse, an oil-backed super club, overtake Los Blancos, while the greatest club in football history is handcuffed by its own creation. The worst-case scenario is unthinkable. Real Madrid, the club of Di Stefano, Zidane, and Cristiano Ronaldo, drowning under the weight of its own ambition. A financial collapse that wouldn't just damage the team, it would shake Spanish football to its core. Florentino Pérez insists that won't happen. He calls the Bernabéu upgrade the club's greatest weapon, the move that will secure Real Madrid's dominance for the next century. And if he's right, Madrid won't just have a new stadium, they'll have the crown jewel of global sport, a fortress that prints money as easily as it produces trophies. But here's the brutal reality. The line between genius and disaster has never been thinner. And Real Madrid are sprinting across it with $2.5 billion on the line. The Santiago Bernabéu isn't just being rebuilt for Madrid, it's being rebuilt for the world. And if Florentino Pérez's gamble pays off, the ripple effects will change football forever. For decades, stadiums were sacred grounds, built to host 90 minutes of football and little else. Fans streamed in, cheered, and left. The real money was made elsewhere, through TV rights and shirt sales. But the Bernabéu threatens to rewrite that entire model. It's not just a stadium anymore, it's a global entertainment hub. Picture this, a Tuesday night in Madrid. The team isn't even playing, yet the Bernabéu is alive with tens of thousands of fans watching an NBA exhibition game, or Beyoncé selling out a world tour stop. The underground pitch technology means the football field is untouched, preserved like holy ground, while the stadium above keeps pumping out revenue. In effect, Madrid has built the first true 24/7 sports and entertainment machine, and every other club on earth is watching. If it works, the Bernabéu becomes the blueprint. Clubs from London to Milan, São Paulo to Los Angeles will have no choice but to copy. Stadiums will no longer be temples to one sport. They'll be multi-purpose super arenas, engineered to squeeze profit from every possible day of the calendar. And that could create a massive gap between the clubs who can afford it and those who can't. Think about the arms race this unleashes. If Real Madrid suddenly pulls in an extra $150 million per year just from the stadium, how do Barcelona, Juventus, or Bayern Munich keep up without their own billion-dollar rebuilds? For smaller clubs, the gap becomes a canyon. Football risks becoming even more of a game where only the wealthiest can survive at the top. But the impact goes deeper than finances. The Bernabéu could change what it feels like to attend a match. Traditionalists already complain that modern football is losing its soul. Corporate boxes, VIP lounges, sky bars, ticket prices that push out working-class fans. The new Bernabéu amplifies this tension. Will it still feel like the beating heart of Madrid, or just another luxury playground for the rich and powerful? For Real Madrid, though, the gamble is clear. This is about cementing themselves not just as a football club, but as the apple of sports brands, polished, futuristic, irresistible to sponsors, and global in reach. If Barcelona has its Camp Nou, Manchester United its Old Trafford, and City their Etihad, the Bernabéu aims to eclipse them all as the stadium everyone else measures against. Even UEFA and FIFA are paying attention. With a facility this advanced, Madrid becomes an obvious host for Champions League finals, World Cup matches, and mega tournaments of the future. It gives Spain a stage so powerful, it could tilt decisions their way for decades. Imagine the 2030 or 2034 World Cup, with Madrid's gleaming Bernabéu as the crown jewel, broadcast to billions around the globe. Of course, there's a darker side, because if Real Madrid succeeds, the pressure on other clubs and cities to build their own billion-dollar temples will skyrocket. And history shows what happens then. Taxpayers footing the bill, debts piling up, and ghost stadiums left behind when the promises of glory never materialise. In many ways, the Bernabéu is both a dream and a warning. For now, though, all eyes are on Madrid. The project isn't finished. The risks haven't gone away. But if Pérez's vision comes true, the Santiago Bernabéu will be more than a stadium. It will be the model for the next 100 years of football. A dazzling, dangerous example of how the game has become bigger than the pitch itself. For decades, the Santiago Bernabéu has been more than steel and concrete. For Real Madrid's fans, it has been a cathedral of miracles. The roar when Zidane volleyed that Champions League final goal. The gasps when Ronaldo bent free kicks past helpless walls. The nights when the team came back from the dead to conquer Europe once again. For generations of Madridistas, the Bernabéu is not just a stadium, it's home. So when the plans for a $2.5 billion transformation were announced, fans were torn. On one hand, pride. Who wouldn't want their club to play in the most advanced stadium in the world? For many, seeing the Bernabéu reborn as a futuristic super arena feels like validation. That Real Madrid is not just keeping up with football's elite, but leading the charge into the future. The retractable roof, the glowing façade, the disappearing pitch. It's everything a fan could dream of. But beneath that pride lurks something darker. Fear, betrayal. The nagging question, what price are they paying for progress? Ticket prices have already begun to rise, pushing out some of the very supporters who gave the Bernabéu its legendary atmosphere. Where once working-class fans sang shoulder to shoulder, now corporate boxes and luxury seats loom larger than ever. Will the soul of the stadium survive the shift from passion to profit? Then there's the debt. Madridistas know their club doesn't have an endless oil fortune to fall back on. They understand that if this gamble goes wrong, it's not faceless investors who suffer. It's the club itself. Imagine Real Madrid forced to sell stars, cut spending, or struggle in the transfer market because billions were sunk into steel and glass. For fans, the nightmare isn't just losing money. It's losing the aura of invincibility that defines their club. And loyalty is fragile when history is at stake. Older supporters remember when the Bernabéu still felt raw, when it smelled of grass and sweat, when football was simpler. For them, this new version risks erasing the soul of the stadium, turning sacred ground into a tourist attraction with Wi-Fi and fine dining. For younger fans, raised in a digital age of spectacle, the project feels exciting, almost inevitable. They see no betrayal, only evolution. The divide is real. Some Madridistas chant in support of Pérez, hailing him as a visionary. Others whisper that he is gambling with their legacy, that he has traded the heart of the club for corporate contracts and futuristic gimmicks. And in Spain, where football is more than a sport, where it is identity, family, and pride, the argument cuts deep. But here's the irony. Both sides may be right. If the gamble works, Real Madrid fans will cheer inside a stadium that sets the standard for the next century. If it fails, they'll be left staring at a monument to hubris, a $2.5 billion reminder that even the greatest club on earth is not immune to collapse. In the end, the new Bernabéu doesn't just test Real Madrid's finances. It tests the loyalty of its fans, forcing them to confront a painful question. When your club gambles with its soul, do you stand proud or walk away? Florentino Pérez has never been afraid of risk. In the early 2000s, when most clubs were tightening belts, he invented the Galactico model, signing superstars like Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, and Figo, not just for football, but for global branding. Critics laughed, said it was reckless, unsustainable, and yet it worked. Real Madrid became not just a football club, but the biggest sports brand in the world. 2 decades later, Pérez is at it again. But this time, the stakes are even higher. Because this isn't just about signing players. This is about reshaping the very foundation of Real Madrid. The Santiago Bernabéu upgrade is more than steel beams and LED screens. It's Pérez's personal gamble, his vision for how to keep Madrid untouchable in a football landscape dominated by oil money and billionaire owners. He has said it himself. We must compete with state-owned clubs. Our weapon is our stadium. To him, the new Bernabéu isn't just a building. It's the future lifeline of the club. But here's the twist. Pérez isn't just building for the club. He's building for his legacy. He's in his late 70s. He knows his time as president is finite. And when history remembers Florentino Pérez, it will remember 2 things, the Galacticos and the Bernabéu. That's why this project is so loaded with personal risk. If the stadium thrives, Pérez will be immortalized, not just as a great president, but as the man who carried Real Madrid into the 21st century of global dominance. His name will be etched into the club's mythology alongside Di Stefano and Santiago Bernabéu himself. But if it fails, then his reputation collapses with it. He will not be remembered as the visionary who modernized football. He will be remembered as the man who gambled with Real Madrid's soul and nearly bankrupted it. His critics already whisper this fear. They say he is obsessed with grandeur, blinded by ego, desperate to cement his legacy with concrete and glass. And the truth is, the timing could not be more dangerous. Global interest rates are rising, construction costs are ballooning, and football finances are more unstable than ever. Pérez insists the revenue projections are solid, that Madrid's global appeal guarantees success. But guarantees don't exist in business or in football. The irony is almost poetic. The Bernabéu project could define Pérez forever. It could make him the man who built football's first true mega arena, a monument that towers over every rival. Or it could make him the president who left behind a glittering ruin, a financial tombstone of ambition gone too far. For now, Pérez stands defiant. The stadium rises, the vision sharpens, and he marches forward with the same conviction that brought Zidane, Ronaldo, and a galaxy of stars to Madrid. But history has its own scorecard. And when the dust settles, Florentino Pérez will either be hailed as the architect of eternal glory or blamed as the man who gambled too much, too late. The clock is ticking in Madrid, and no matter how futuristic the Bernabéu looks on the outside, its future may be decided by something brutally simple: time. Every mega project in history shares one brutal truth: delays kill, costs rise, deadlines slip, and suddenly dreams turn into disasters. And with the Bernabéu, the stakes couldn't be higher, because this isn't just about hosting Real Madrid's weekly fixtures, it's about making sure the stadium is ready for the biggest events in global sport. UEFA's eyes are already on Madrid. With Champions League finals, international tournaments, and even potential World Cup matches in the 2030s, the Bernabéu is expected to stand not just as a stadium, but as Europe's crown jewel. That means everything, from the retractable roof to the disappearing pitch, must be flawless by the time the spotlight arrives. One missed deadline, one technical failure, and Madrid risks global embarrassment. And here's the chilling part: stadium projects almost always run late. Tottenham Hotspur's billion-dollar ground in London was delayed by nearly a year, costing the club millions in lost revenue. The Olympics in Rio left half-finished venues that crumbled within a decade. Even Qatar's World Cup stadiums, built with limitless resources, were delivered under crushing pressure, some only just completed in time. For Real Madrid, the margin for error is even slimmer. Construction crews are racing against an unforgiving calendar, juggling schedules around home matches, training sessions, and La Liga's relentless calendar. Any delay not only threatens completion, it could force Madrid to play crucial games away from their own fortress. For a club that treats the Bernabéu like a weapon, that would be unthinkable. Behind the scenes, engineers and project managers whisper about the pressure. The retractable roof alone is a marvel of design, but a nightmare to install. The underground pitch system is unlike anything in Europe, requiring millimetre precision. One miscalculation, one malfunction, and the whole project could spiral into chaos. And then there's the financial fuse. The longer construction drags on, the higher the interest, the heavier the repayments. Every month of delay doesn't just cost time, it costs millions. And those millions pile directly onto the shoulders of Real Madrid's future. For Florentino Pérez, the nightmare scenario is clear: arriving at 2030 with a stadium that isn't finished, loans still bleeding money, and UEFA forced to hand flagship matches to rivals. Imagine Madrid left watching as London, Munich, or Paris steals the spotlight that was meant to showcase their billion-dollar masterpiece. But if they succeed, if they beat the clock, then the reward is monumental. A gleaming Bernabéu, ready to host finals, concerts, and spectacles broadcast to billions worldwide. A stadium that cements Madrid not only as kings of football, but as kings of global entertainment. The countdown is on. And with every passing day, Madrid edges closer to either triumph or catastrophe. The future of the Bernabéu doesn't just depend on money. It depends on whether the builders, the engineers, and the visionaries can deliver before time runs out. So here we are. After years of construction, billions in loans, and promises that sound closer to science fiction than sport, the Santiago Bernabéu stands as football's boldest gamble. A $2.5 billion monument to ambition. But the question remains, will it save Real Madrid or destroy them? On one side, the vision sparkles. A stadium unlike anything the world has ever seen. A roof that closes in silence. A pitch that vanishes underground. A 360-degree screen that turns matches into theatre. Add to that the billions waiting to pour in from concerts, events, and sponsorships, and Real Madrid could emerge stronger than ever. This could be the crown jewel that guarantees their dominance for another century. On the other side, the abyss looms, costs spiralling out of control, Debt hanging heavy over the club, ticket prices rising, fans divided, traditions eroded, one bad decade, one global crisis, one failed revenue stream, and the most successful club in football history could be shackled by its own creation. Instead of salvation, the Bernabéu could become a $2.5 billion monument to arrogance. And the irony? Both futures are possible. That's what makes this story so gripping. Because football isn't just played on the pitch, it's fought in boardrooms, on construction sites, and in the hearts of the fans who sing in the stands. Florentino Pérez calls this project Real Madrid's weapon against the billionaire-backed clubs of modern football. Supporters hope it's a fortress that guarantees glory. Critics warn it could be the ruin of everything the club has built. So, which is it? The salvation of Real Madrid or their self-destruction? Right now, no one knows. The only certainty is this: the Bernabéu has always been a stage for drama, and its next act might be the most dramatic of them all.